Alright, hello. Today I'm going to be going over how to do all of the Arabia strategies, or most of the most common ones, using just one build order. So I'll be splitting this video into 3 parts. The first part, which we'll be doing now, we're going over how to do scouts, spear skirms, and one-range archers. In part 2, we'll look at some of the builds with militia. So we have the Drush, French Drush, and men-at-arms. And then at part 3, we'll go over Fast Castle. We'll also go over 2-range archers at some point, which is the build you do in team games. I'll go over that in part 2, I believe. So our general build order is 19 population up. We'll have 6 on food, 3 on wood, and the rest just goes to food. And we can do every strategy using just this build order. We'll just have a few variations, for example, barracks for infantry, and we'll have the later uptime if we're doing Drush or Fast Castle. So it's basically the same build order, but some slight variations depending on what we're going for. And if you're a bit newer to the game, then you can do 20 population instead, and this will do all these build strategies as well, but it's also a bit easier with the execution. So the main advantage of doing all our strategies using this build order is, firstly, it's easy to remember. So since you're doing the same thing for each strategy, that's you don't have a lot of different build orders to try and remember. The execution is also fairly simple. It can be a little bit difficult to pick up with the 19 population sometimes, but other than that, the execution is pretty easy. And it's pretty easy to change our strategy as we go, or adapt. So if we get to the point where we're clicking up or something, and we want to decide we want to change our strategy, we can often do that quite easily. The main disadvantage, I'd say, is that we can have some inefficiencies compared to some other builds, because some of the builds might be tailored specifically for a particular strategy, whereas this is kind of like a more generic kind of design for all strategies. So I give a rating. I just give a rough rating of how good I think doing this strategy is. So I get 8.5 out of 10. So I think this build will hold up. All these builds will hold up at their highest level, but there might be some more efficient builds in some places. And there is some difficulty with the build. Give it a 7 out of 10. But it should be reasonably easy for intermediate players to try this. And then if you want to try the 20 population variation instead, that's not so effective at higher levels. I give it 6.5 out of 10. But then the ease of execution, I gave 9 out of 10 because it's easy to perform for new players. So I apologize, I don't have like fancy graphics or anything. I'm literally just going off Notepad for now. I might change that up at some point. But for these build orders, I'm just going with a simple approach. So for part 1, what we're doing, I'll look at now, scouts, one-range, spear skirm, and one-range archers. So the main thing we'll be doing with all of them is after we've clicked up to feudal age, we'll send 8 to wood and have 1 villager on straggler. And then the differences between them is just once we get to about 50% up to the way to feudal age, we just send warfields to gold. So up until that point, we can switch between whichever one of these strategies we want to do. So if you're in a game and you decided for whatever reason you wanted to go scouts when originally you were planning to go archers, up until this point, you could change your mind and do whatever you want with that. And then obviously the difference between skirms and scouts is literally just do we build a range or do we build a stable. So I'll switch over to the game and I'll do an example build order to show what we're going with. Pause now. So starting up with a normal, just building houses and going 6 on sheep. Find that. And I just have it on explored because easier to see the map when it's or easier to talk through while not having to scout the map at the same time. And I won't be taking deer during any of these builds, but obviously that improves the builds a bit. I also won't be worrying too much about the chickens. I might have to take them for some of the builds, like the men-at-arm variation, which I'll go over in part 2. That is a bit closer to a bit more difficult to pull off. So We might need to take some chickens for that to help out. But all the other builds, we will not worry too much about them. So let's take some wood. So with our scouts, spear, skirm, and archers, we'll all be doing a mill like normal. Whereas for our infantry builds, we'll do a barracks first and a mill a bit later on. That's basically the only real difference between the strategies until we start producing units. So I've got 3 on wood now, and then we just send everyone else to food. So pretty simple build order, which is you see one of the good things about it. So I thought this might be quite helpful to do because quite a few people ask how do you do all the strategies at higher levels, and I'd say there are better ways. It's probably slightly more efficient ways to do your build orders, but generally these builds will do fine even at the highest level. And I just need to do a house. And before we do the second house, I'll just make a save point here. Say save point 1. If it loads. And this is just because we'll use this save point in part 2. For now, for part 1, we'll be doing mill. Yeah, a lot of people on Reddit I see as well, a lot of people ask how to do strategies that you do at high levels, and this is just like a very easy way to do all those strategies. So yeah, I think it'll be quite helpful for people. So now I'm taking our second ball. But if this was an actual game, we'd probably have our sheep a bit closer in case someone tries to steal them. Whatever. So got our second boar in, and we got 4 on food here, on our berries rather. So click them after this. Now, if you were wanting to do an easy build order, we can do another build and then loom afterwards. Wouldn't be the strongest build like at high levels, but it'd be fun for at lower ratings. And you're better off doing that build order, like 20 population doing that well. Would be much better than trying to do 19 population poorly. So yeah, it's better to be up at Upperville later rather than have lots of idle time or something. So we clicked up there now. You can see it's like force dropping. It didn't have that much food left over, so you do have to be reasonably efficient with your Dark Age. And that's just because we're clicking up quite fast with the 3 on wood as well. So I'll just pause here. So once we've got clicked up to Feudal Age, we'll send villagers until we have 8 on this lumber line, and then we just have 1 on Straggler. And this will work for all 3 of the build orders. So we'll just grab 5 vills here, try and get ones which aren't injured too much. And then 1 on the Straggler. You in theory don't have to have the 1 on the Straggler, I just like having that one there for a bit more flexibility. Means if you notice your wood count's a bit high, you can shift this one back to food, or you can just keep it on Straggler. Yeah. So then what we would do is, once the sheep runs out, we would send 4 vills to gold, if we're doing the archer strategy. So what I'll do is I'll just wait till this is run out. I'll shift key them to wood, but then I'll show you. If we're doing archers, we'll just do that and go like that. And that'll be what we'll do. Since we'll go for scouts for now, so I was just showing this is a variation if we're going for archers, but this is like the break point where we can decide what strategy we're going for. It also works out really well with the sheep timing. So we'll just need to do our barracks and a house. So let's make sure I do that with a villager. You can do it with any villager really. I just chose this villager because it was the furthest forward. So ignore the fact that some of my buildings might be in weird places a bit. I think I'm mostly okay for now, but I'm not really focusing on that, so occasionally I might build buildings in weird places. It's just what I'm doing here. So once you get the second villager out, just help get his buildings up. Then we can do a stable if we're going scouts, which we will in this case, but I'm sure you can just as easily do a range and do skirmishes. So basically, you can do either build order and a pretty high level. Start building the stable for now. I'll just go to about maybe 11, 12 minutes or so. I'm not going to go all the way into Dark Age, Feudal Age, sorry. I might show that a bit more at a later time. We can click Bid-X, we can click Horse Color. You'll notice we have a civ without an eco bonus. Since if we do horse color, we won't be able to do like constant scouts. We'll probably get like 3 out and have to stop because we've got no eco bonus and we haven't taken chicken or deer or anything. But basically, if we hit any extra resources, we get like constant scout production. That's something to keep in mind. People often will skip horse color as well anyway, so that is an option if you want, but decide you want constant production. So every new villager we produce now is going to spread the trees, and then they just build farms once they can. And just do another house. Just keep doing farms. And literally, like, most of the rest of Feudal Age is just building farms when you can, and putting more rules on spread the trees. And see, since we have, as I said before, we were struggling a little bit with food. It's just because we put ourselves in like the situation where we have the least food, basically. But basically, you can just idle for a little bit, and then stable, I mean, and then you're fine. You can produce more later. And get barracks here as well. So this build order with the scouts you can do for like team games as well as 1v1s. Quite good for both of those. And I'll pause it there, and I'll see you in part 2. Thank you for watching, and I hope these builds helped out.